All right, welcome everyone to another episode of The Vinny Show. I'm your host, Vinny from South Philly. Tonight's guest is from Italian Sicilians Do It Better, Mr. Frank Falconeri. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you coming on. Big fan of you guys. I love all the content. Frank is a content creator, and again, he's part of that Italian Sicilians Do It Better. They have a podcast. They have a lot of wonderful things, which I'm going to encourage you to please check out in the description box. Make sure you're following these guys and all their wonderful content. So, Frank, let's
Thank
get
you.
started. Tell us everything about you.
Oh man, there's so much. You sure you want to hear everything?
Well, let's start with the entertainment part of it.
Yeah. Well, I started this couple of years ago as a meme page, just put funny content up for the Italian Sicilian community, and after so many years, it just built up to something that I said I want to use this to explore more. So I said, hey, why not? Let's tell my story. Let's bring out a little bit of the Sicilian culture and kind of tell them how I was raised. So a lot of the content you see on there, it's just all family related, all stories that we could tell that's also related, and a lot of the friends I meet are the same, and trying to keep the tradition going. That's basically the long story short. But
And that's a beautiful thing, Frank, because my parents came from Calabria, and they came from a region near Reggio Calabria, which is right across the pond from Sicily, and they came over in '66, but then they moved back in 2000. So I had the pleasure, real honor, to go in Italy. First time was in 2000, and I went every year until I got married, and then that all stopped.
oh man,
but
well
I
I'm sorry, I'm guilty of that too. I went one time only in 2001. I mean, I love the country. I have a fear of flying, so that
yeah.
kind of held me back for that 8-hour trip. But we love the motherland. Yep.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because I used to jump on a plane like people jump on a bus. I didn't care, I
Yep.
spent all my money on airfare, but now I'm a little bit nervous. Like I'm a little
Yeah.
nervous.
I used to fly all the time. Rewinding a long time ago more, I used to be a good promoter, I'll say, in Astoria, Queens. So I used to get around with the DJs and the radio station. A lot of that came with flying. I did it all day long without thinking. I slept like a baby on it. But in 2001, my trip to Italy, I had a bad experience, and
Uh,
that just did it for me.
yeah, I had something like that happen once. I was in something which I didn't know until it happened was called a flight pattern, where you're just flying around in circles for like hours because you
Oh
can't
boy.
land, dude. So, but what I was getting at as far as going to Calabria was I did have, Sicily was it was like Jersey and Philly, So,
Yeah.
um, I had one day I went with my buddy Domenico. We went and we took the ferry over and went to Messina. I remember the port was so beautiful, big long statue that greets you as soon as you're approaching it. I remember seeing swordfish in the water, like it was crazy. And I
Yeah.
went to Messina. We had a great time. Sicily was beautiful.
Oh wow.
And I also remember this is how crazy it was where my parents
That's
lived.
beautiful.
Where my parents live, I used to look out like the window and I would see Etna, like like it was the top of it was real red. You
Yes.
could see something was going on. And in fact, if there's a few times where there were ashes on our like front steps from, believe it or not, from Etna.
Oh
I'm like, how
wow.
the hell did it reach that far? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing what the wind could travel these days, right? Uh,
But Sicily's is my wife is part Sicilian, so
cool.
I have listen. There's no bad place in that whole. And I say in the boot, but Sicily. I mean, Tower Mean. There's so many beautiful places. You could spend a lifetime just trying to find them all. And I can identify with what you're saying as far as our culture, and it's such a rich culture, and it's good to see. Relatively probably about the same age, and there's younger people too. There's another young kid out there. Um, his kid Marco, you probably seen him. He's out there doing reels, and he's like 18 maybe, or maybe I'm being a little generous with his age. The young Italian, he calls himself, and
Yes.
it's good to see like youngsters doing it.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of meeting him at one of the feasts locally in Brooklyn, and he was a joy, I would say, to meet. He had such a pride in him that it made me very happy to see that, and that's what I'm doing as well. With my kids, I just want to teach them our traditions, and I hope they pass it down to their children.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think there's a really, you keep hearing the old cliche of America being the melting pot, but where would we be without the Chinatowns, without the Little Italies, without there's something about preserving your culture that's really
Absolutely.
it's vital. It's vital.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just to, not to change the subject, a quick story. When I went to Sicily, that one time, um, my family's from the mountains, in a small town out of Palermo, and I got to learn a lot of new things. Like there's a lot of farming out there. And when I first arrived there, I seen people burn the grass. Have you ever seen that
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
farms? I didn't know the meaning of it, so I thought that was interesting. But it was so well controlled. It was so patterned,
Mhm.
and that was interesting. The food's amazing.
Oh God,
The
I know.
ice cream, the dessert, So, yeah, I got home 50 pounds, more than I got there with, but, it was definitely worth the trip, and then talking about other cultures within Italy, it's not just about Sicily, you see all these beautiful areas. Every town has its beautiful representation, and my dream is to actually make that travel one day and experience that. That would be beautiful.
Oh, I mean, I remember, like you said, I think the very first thing I noticed about Italy when I got there was how slow, or at least you know, in our way of thinking, it's slow.
Right.
The way people walked, they're not in a rush. They're just casually taking their time to get wherever they have to go. Beyond passeggiata, it was just like that's just how they walk, and I'm like, oh my god, like I'm sprinting down the street all the time. You know how we're caught up in this 9 to 5 rat race. Laid
Yeah.
back, man, and no, and everybody's fine. I mean, everybody, of course, everybody's trying to get ahead, but not like
Yeah.
here.
I agree. I mean, over here, someone said it the best way to me. It's like, in New York, unfortunately, it's a fast-paced environment. We work to live. And in Italy, they live to work and enjoy their families. And they also have these. I had no idea. When I first got there too, my uncles, they all have stores and they all work, and all of a sudden everybody's home at 12 because it's lunch and nap time, and nobody goes back to work till 2. I was like, wow, that's great.
Yeah,
But the whole town shut down. The whole town takes that break. And that was truly amazing to experience as well. But
yeah, yeah. And their biggest meal is at lunch, like what we call lunch.
lunch.
Yeah, and then at nighttime it's a salad, something light,
Yeah.
and that's why they're all thin.
Yeah, yeah, you could say that again, absolutely. But their food
It's
is also very organic, I'll say. It's,
yeah.
the taste of everything is, there's an area I went to called Bella Strade, in Sicily, and it's literally lined up with street food, and seafood was the number 1 thing there. But, tasting and enjoying the people and all that food, the experience was unbelievable. It was so fresh, and so on point that that's a memory I won't forget there.
You were talking about the mountains, and my family too. And both my parents are from like a mountainous region outside of Reggio Calabria, and I remember going to the top of a mountain somewhere, and it's like you go all the way up, and then it's all flat.
Yeah.
The fig trees, the figs were literally dripping. I mean, I'm like, this is crazy. I never tasted a fig, and we had them like my uncles had them in the yard and all in Philly, but nothing like this. I mean, this thing was just pure sweetness. Everything was just ripe, And I mentioned this in another interview actually with December Rose, the singer. Here, it's like everything is picked like very green, and then it rots to ripeness.
Right.
It's not the way it's supposed to be. It's
No.
not.
No, and, that's also another. I have all these stories, man. I could keep you here all night. Um, when I arrived to Italy, my uncle takes part of his farm. He owns a farm, and when I literally got there after a 13-hour travel between the 2 planes, and he just wanted to take me to La Campagna, they call it,
Yeah.
to their farm and show me. And, I was like, "Yeah, let's go." I just flew for 13 hours. Let's just go for it. So we get there, and, it became like, from seeing the beautiful crops and things that he's growing, Vinny, he had me working for 3.5 hours picking melons.
Wow.
And then I got back home and my grandma goes, "Where'd you go?" "Oh, I went to work." I said, "I'm back now." But, so it's just a whole different experience out there. It's beautiful.
I remember those Sicilian melons because we used to buy them in Calabria, and they were like the yellow ones. They were good, man. They got
Yeah,
some good
they look
melons.
like footballs, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
they're like
definitely.
footballs.
Yeah,
Good
that's
stuff.
true.
A lot of the grapes, they grow a great Netto d'Avola. They grow some really good wine in Sicily too. They're very, the grapes are like they go back and forth between Calabria and
Right.
Sicily. Like it's kind of it's strange because, well, because it's so close. You if you look back, probably kind of like very similar in our genetics because we're just people go back and forth between
Yes.
Calabria and Sicily. But like our dialect in Reggio is different from the dialect in Cosenza or Catanzaro. So
Yes.
our dialect is almost identical to Sicilian dialect. We say instead of cavallo, which means horse, we say cavallo, which is how
That's how
Sicilians
we
say.
say it. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so it's the same thing. It's really it's interesting.
I have friends who are from Calabria, and I gotta say, I really don't understand their accent that
Yeah.
much. Um, there's a difference. There's a big difference on, I guess, in certain areas that, like, my friend could be talking to his mom. I didn't get every other sentence of it. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, there's some like I said in Catanzaro, like for instance, we have a lot of friends that, and it's not that far from Reggio. It's the next region up. But they say instead of cafe, like we say cafe, right?
Yeah,
But they say gahe. The F is like an H.
gotcha.
It's but and look, everybody's got their little thing. If you go to the north or whatever, they got the French influence. They sound French, or you could
Yeah.
tell when somebody's from like Piemonte or whatever. You could tell.
So I'm the first generation born here in the U.S. My mom came from Italy. So I'll say growing up, my family didn't speak any English, so I learned like the Sicilian was my first language. And I was surprised when I went in 2001. I said, I know it all. I could read it, I could write it. But I was shocked to see how that language, the Sicilian slang they call it now, they don't speak that anymore. It's proper Italian. And I actually had a difficult time speaking because a lot of the people who heard me, they're like, "Wow, I haven't heard that in 20 years." And I was shocked by that.
I want to tell you a funny story because I went through something similar. The same thing. I went there, and my family. I never met them. My grandfather, God rest his soul, my cousins. They were shocked that I was speaking dialect.
Right.
It's like
That I was
I guess it's like somebody from Italy coming over here and speaking like us from New York, Queens, or Philly. It's like, wait a minute, it's bizarre. But yeah, I mean, look, it's but again, there's also a preservation thing going on. I think in Italy where they want to preserve the dialects. I heard. So I think they're trying to not get rid of it. There's some people are like, oh no, let's not get rid of it. It's part of our history.
Yeah, I heard about maybe 15, 20 years ago, they actually made that change in schools, at least in Sicily. So it's I think it's Tuscan Italian. That's what they're being taught.
Mm.
And even when I speak to my cousins today who are my age that I honestly haven't met, we have a hard time understanding each other.
I mean, it goes back to pre-unification, a lot of different cultures.
Right.
There's Arabic, there's Spanish influence, you know,
Yeah,
there's
and and
a lot of
and
different
and
words.
that was one of my motivations on what I'm trying to do, right? It's like I know there's a lot of I'll say Sicilians in the community here that I feel like they're not so big, but they're out there, and I've been meeting a bunch of them, and I just want to bring that back out. I just want to teach them I guess they call now the old dialect, the old fashioned way, and just tell our stories. And I've been having to meet great people, and in the mix, Vinny, I met you, and I know you're from Calabria and everything, but I'm willing to collaborate with anybody, and you meet great friends during this process. It's an amazing experience.
Yeah, I agree, and I identified you and you guys with what you're doing, and I thought it was really cool. I love the content, and that's one of the reasons why I reached out to you. And I follow a lot. I follow everything you guys do, and I always loved.
Appreciate that.
I love the participation level. You guys have always very been. I mean, you particularly. I know you. I don't. Unfortunately, don't know your partners yet. I'm sure that'll change, but you've always been very supportive, and I like how supportive you are of the culture, and the guests you have, and you have some really nice guests on that show. Yeah, I've seen Joe Avati. There's plenty of people. You guys are doing some really good things.
Yeah, so in the middle of trying to get this going, I said to myself, "Hey, let's start a podcast." And I basically, one of the guys are my brothers. My brother, he's in Florida, and then my brother's best friend, and his brother. And I was like, let's start this from scratch. I want to start it where, these guys are great guys that have great stories. They're like comedians. When you hang out with them, you're laughing all day. And I didn't want to go choose friends that I have that already have a following, that already have things going for them. I'm proud to say I want to start it with these gentlemen, build them up and just keep it going. And I'll say my first episode out, on iTunes, on Apple, it hit close to 1,000. For me, that was amazing. I didn't know. I've heard stories people have done it for a year and haven't even hit 1,000 listeners. So that sparked us to continue going, and it sparked some ears. I was fortunate enough to meet Joe Vadi. Joe Vadi reached out, and we were talking back and forth. I was fortunate that he was actually doing a show here in Queens. That was this past weekend, and we met there again. True gentleman, true gentleman, meaning he's just like us. He's willing to talk and expand the community and help one another. And he was a great guy. And then a couple of weeks ago, I got to meet Angelo Venuto. He's an Italian American singer that had a great story. They started as a band for wedding band singers, and he evolved on the radio. Like his song "L'Italiano" was number one, top of the charts for years, and he's still going. He's still singing at beat stocks and things like that these days. And we connected. He came on the show, and meeting all these people is just what I want to do. I think it's amazing even finding and hearing their stories, and I want to bring that to light.
It's motivating, isn't it, Frank? I mean, and the
Yeah,
fact that they're coming on and you're getting they're giving you the honor and the pleasure of doing it. It's a beautiful thing.
yeah. It's I would never have thought I would have Joe Vadi in my chair. He was someone that I would watch on television. Australian Italian guy, and then my wife bought tickets in December to go see a show, and bang, he's sitting on my couch a month ago, and that was like a true honor for to have him here. But yeah, I'm hoping it just keeps going.
Oh, no doubt. I know. I know. Well, you guys are active. You're out there. You're doing it. Um, and speaking of Joe Vadi, I have to give the guy a lot of credit. Like I'm watching him, I'm saying, that's tough to fly across
Yeah,
the world, all the way from Australia, all the way to the East Coast, and I believe he took his family with him. I mean, that's a tough. That's a lot. It's a lot of work and a lot of sacrifice. God bless him.
yeah. Listening to his, that's the first thing I asked him. I'm like, Joe, how do you do it? I see you're in Canada, and then tomorrow you're down by Tennessee, and then you're back in Canada, and he's touring Canada. Now he came back here. Now he's in Europe. Today he flew back to Italy, and now he's touring Italy. He said that he's touching about 300 stages by the time he's done.
God
And
bless him.
yeah, and I was like, wow. I'm like, you're always on the go, always on the run. That's something I probably can't do. I said, so that's a big thing to learn about how people go get it, and then share that talent. I gotta tell you, he started the show on Saturday. We were laughing from start to end. Like he knew how to puzzle and how to feed that crowd. It was a true art. That's what I call that. It's a true art. And you know, who knows? Maybe someday I could get that confidence and do something different too.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is a true art, and I know some comedians, and I mean I like to be silly and funny, and if you see some of my skits, you could.
Yeah, we love
But
him. We
I
watch
don't.
him all the time.
Thank you. Yeah, the Pasta Cheech Crew. That's going to be a short movie, by the way, coming out soon.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're gonna be raising money for it. But enough about me. I can't do what what those comedians do. That is an art. That's a science. That's a profession. Like,
Yeah. And
oh
you
man,
and you have to have
that's
this. I
yeah.
guess you have to have the strength and the bond, right? The family. You're so detached. But then you detach. Like he brought him down to New York because now he took him to Europe with them, but he wasn't with them the last 50 times he touched stages. So yeah, I guess you gotta have a strong bond at home in your personal life as well.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's hey, look. I mean, it's very easy for your spouse to kind of be like, "Come on, like you're missing for like weeks and months." Like it's
Right.
not easy. Especially at children, it puts a strain on a lot of marriages. So that's a big sacrifice.
Yeah, yeah. Give them sometimes they don't get enough credit. People just say, "Oh, he makes millions." They work hard for those millions. People don't see that. It's not an easy gig. Even
Now,
the acting, the skits, even this thing you just told me you're doing. It's time. It's homework, it's energy, it's time away from your personal life, and if that blows up, that's times 15, times 20. So it's hard work.
yeah, oh yeah, no, entertainment in general, absolutely. Entertainment in general is it's and a lot of people, it's a grind. A lot of people sometimes,
Yeah,
unfortunately, don't make it. But you got to take the shot, man, and you got to and like I like doers, and I like people again, like yourself, Frank, and your buddies. That you guys are out there, you're doing it, you're hitting those festivals, you're putting in the time, you're connecting with guests and
absolutely.
potential guests, and you're networking. I give it a lot of credit.
Yeah, you got to do that, right? You got to show your face. You got to make some noise, and I love noise, so I just go out there and I just make sure I meet everybody. I want everybody just to know who I am and what I do, and I'm not just about business. I'm not just about networking. I'm also a good person to have a good time with, and we'll just make a great day out of it.
Exactly, and so we probably should mention your partners too. What are their names for
So
those that don't know?
my brother's Giancarlo. He resides in Florida. He virtuals in. Then his best friend, which he's like a little brother to me because he's been in the family since my brother met him. He's Marco. He's a cook. He likes to do things up. He posts a lot of cooking videos. Going back to G, he likes to do skits. He's a comical. Like he likes to do a bunch of things. You see that there. And then you have Marco's brother Giacomo. Giacomo is very talented. I always tell him he has a radio voice. He doesn't want to believe it, but these guys to me all have a character, and that's the reason why I chose him to be on my side.
So you tell them you got a face for radio, right?
I hope so. I hope so.
Oh man. Which one is that? The one that says, "Let me tell you something," or "Let me ask you something"? Is that I'm butchering it, but
So
is that one?
that's my buddy Angelo.
Okay, that's your buddy Angel, right?
Yeah, that's my
And
buddy Angelo. We met through social media. Like we make great connects, and that's what I was saying earlier. Like we met and we clicked. Like why didn't we meet 30 years ago? Like it was so like we were best friends in the click. So he's a great guy with great comedy, great skits, and let me ask you something. That now he got me stuck saying it all day long. It's just it's a habit. But
let me.
yeah,
That's what it is. Let me ask you something. He's very funny. Yeah.
yeah, that's his thing. That's what he'll always say, and he doesn't even know he's saying it. And the best thing is, I went over his house and he has a beautiful family, and his son did it. He goes, "Hey, Dad, let me ask you something." I'm like, "Oh God, I know where he gets this from." So yeah,
Got the whole family doing it.
yeah, you meet great people as you do this stuff, and I was fortunate to meet a good person as well.
And speaking of which, I mean, you got some nice ones at the festival. Tell us about maybe some. Do you have any cool people that you really were excited to meet that are part of maybe the social media world that you got a chance to meet lately?
Yeah, I actually, you know, I had Salzo. A lot of people know Salzo.
Yeah, yeah.
He was here. We did a podcast show Friday night. He has an incredible story. I can't wait to get that out there. Then I met with Maria Rose, Cooking Maria Rose.
Oh yeah, sure.
Very talented. Let me tell you, there was an Italian festival where there was food vendors and then just local vendors selling goods, and she was doing rice balls and panelli. You ever had a panellis?
I have no. I had the arancini, which is the rice balls. But
Arancini, yeah. I'm telling you, she had the most lines. Like she took over that show. Like she's very talented when it comes to cooking. I got to meet. Well, I'm actually I grew up with Joe from Mario Meats here in Metro.
oh,
He does a
nice.
lot of skits off out of the butcher with his friend Artie. I
I
grew
love
up with
those
them.
guys. I love those
Yeah,
guys.
they're awesome. They're very talented. They have a good crew. I grew up with Joe for a long time. It was funny because I had the page, but I never brought myself out. So people will see me Italian citizens do it better, and that was getting everywhere. And then when Joe, found out with me, he's like, "Holy crap, that's you!" I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." I said, "I'm finally gonna come out. I'm gonna start doing more things." And a lot of people were shocked to know it was me and knew the page, but couldn't connect it together. So now that people are starting to see me around, they're starting to connect it. But yeah, I met a lot of people, Vinny. There's just so many people. I think the festivals are the best place to go just to meet these people.
Yeah.
Um, they're always there. They're always having a good time, and they're great people, man. So a lot of people that you see as actors and skits, and they may look funny or they may be, food reviewing, and when you meet them in person, they're so genuine. They're so nice, and they're quiet. That's the weird thing. Like you're not
Yeah.
quiet on social media. You really that quiet in person? So yeah,
I agree. I was supposed to go to one of those festivals, and oh man, there's always something going on that's
I,
stopping me, like at the last minute, and there's always something coming up, or somebody's sick, or whatever. But I was supposed to go to the Rosalie, I believe it was. Yeah.
good one. San Gennaro's the biggest. That's a fun one. It's a nice one that I suggest people should go to. It's fun. A lot of people, a lot of mix of food, a lot of mix of cultures, a lot of and you just see everyone just having a great time. It's just a beautiful place to be at.
Yeah, I was in Mulberry Street. I think it was in April or May. No, I think it was either March or April. I was up there. We went to see Tony Darrow. He had a
Oh,
show.
cool.
We were invited. We got a table. That was a lot of fun. But I went there earlier because I was like, I hadn't been to Mulberry Street literally like almost 20 years, and so it was fun. And I wound up bumping into Mario Bosco, and we did a quick little reel. It's funny too because I'm sitting down eating, and he's putting cheese over my. There's skits on my Instagram, but he puts the cheese, the grated cheese over my pasta, and I instinctively because of watching all these reels, I'm saying like
That
like
guy's awesome.
like Baldassare. Baldassare's a big personality from Italy, and that's his thing. So it was really funny. But I did it like without even thinking.
Yeah, and that's another great example of a person on social media. How many people has he posted just to give them some shine, and doing it, and I love him for that. He's a great person.
You bring up a very good point, Frank, because he posted I did one with that one with Mario. I did that, but then I did like another one that wasn't even that great, but he posted it,
Yeah,
and I
he
got
posted
like
it.
a ton of views. I'm like, this guy's so nice that if anybody's listening to what we're trying to tell you, be nice, man. Help each other, share each other's stuff within reason. I mean, you can't if there's something that's not nice, you shouldn't just repost. But if you're a creator and you got 50, 60, 70, 100,000 followers, okay, maybe the guy's only got 1,000, but give him a break, help each other out.
Yeah, I see it as 60,000, 100,000, or 200. Why not just help? That's all I'm about. I'm helping. I'm not asking people for money. I'm not one. I just want to. I would love to bring people together, and unfortunately, like there's groups of people everywhere, and they want to be exclusive. That's great. I don't get why. I think if everyone just got together and had a party, and just had a great time, it will be the strongest community ever. But
I agree.
that's
Yeah,
that's the goal.
people, it is a weird thing. I've seen it firsthand.
Yep.
It can be competitive, so it's like, he's got 1,000 more followers than me, so it gets really like silly. It's like this weird, I don't know if it's like some sort of condition that we haven't really put a name on yet, but people get jealous of the stupidest things. It's like just everybody help each other. We all climb the mountain together.
There's no need to be jealous because listen to everyone's stories. It's the same. It's the same, just told by a different person because that's how close in culture things are.
Yeah,
You know, when you talk about the crazy grandfathers and the upset dads, that's everywhere. So for someone to think that they have more than others, I disagree.
nah, I
Just
agree.
just share the experience, and just keep it growing.
Absolutely. All right, so Frank, let's talk about the future. What are your plans? What would you like to see with your projects in the next, say, 5 years?
Um, I used to work in the radio a long time ago. For personal reasons, I had to walk away from it, and I always regretted that. And I still have friends who are in that business, and I would love to see my show make it onto a radio. Um, I think I could pull great content, and it doesn't have to be just about Italian culture. It could just be about everyday life, and I'm striving for that. And that's my personal view on things. And there's also a lot of other things in mind that I would love to mention, but I can't at this time. But there's things in the works involving a TV station, and I'm hoping that works out for us. And you know, just I'm just giving it a shot, and if it works, I would love it for the rest of my life, right? But if it doesn't work, I can always say is I gave it all, I did it, and I'm still gonna be proud of it.
That's beautiful. And you know
Yeah,
what? That's what it's all about. Taking a shot, as you said, and just putting your creativity out there and see what happens. I mean, me personally, I always love your material and everything you guys are doing. And thousands of other people feel the same way, obviously, right? And as you mentioned, when you put it out, you got 1,000 followers automatically. Like that. That's stuff that again, there's still continues to be a growing market for this particular thing,
yeah,
and just the whole community building around entertaining people, culture. It's a wonderful thing. I love that New York, especially, still has a thriving Italian community. Philly does too,
yeah,
but a lot of a
absolutely.
lot of a lot of Philly people moved to South Jersey. So now you could say South Jersey, Philly has a very thriving Italian population. So if you go to South Jersey, there's a ton of, they're still doing it the old school way with the basement kitchen and the sauce and the gravy.
That's still here too. That doesn't change. But
Yeah,
I would love for you guys to come out here or us come out there. I would love to get together with you guys. It will be a great time just even meeting each other.
yeah, I think that's something that we should definitely plan on doing because, as I said, with what we're doing, this thing's kind of blowing up to an extent with a lot of people that want to we're kind of all working together with a lot of different people.
It's a beautiful thing.
So yeah, it is really. We were just at the Borgata the other night and we did a couple skits there. It was a lot of fun, man. And there's a lot to talk about that we'll probably have to talk about offline. But is there anything going on with you guys anytime in the near future that we should know about? Any events or any guests, anything that related to Italian Sicilians?
There's a lot. There's just a few things I just can't talk about at the moment. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
If that sounds I just it's like what I said earlier. There's just a lot of groups, and I don't want to lose the opportunity, so that's why. But you're gonna see a lot of new things come out, a lot of different ways. I'm sitting here in my studio. Who thought I would have had a studio? And things are getting better for me. So the quality is gonna be better, and the skits are gonna be better. And I have some, I'll say I think I'm a good social media person when it comes to it. I have met people bigger than me, and um, hoping they join me soon. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Your studio looks really cool. And if my wife ever kicks me out, I know where I'm going.
I got 2 couches here for you, Vinny. Don't worry about it.
I'll bring my own blanket. Frank, you've been a wonderful guest. We're going to close out the show, but let me tell you, man, I can't wait to hook up with you guys. You're doing wonderful things and very, very uplifting, especially for our community, whether it's Italian, whether it's Sicilian, for all Italians. You are a source of pride for us, and I appreciate everything you're doing. And Godspeed, man. I hope I wish you nothing but plenty more success.
Thanks, and thank you for the opportunity. And it's been a pleasure meeting you since day one. My house is always open to you and your guys. And I just want to say to everybody, it's okay to tell people you love them. It's okay to have a smile on your face, and it's just you just keep going, keep pushing, and you'll succeed in life. That's how I see it.
Say never quit, man. Never quit.
Never quit.
Frank, you've been wonderful again. Thank you. And friends out there, if you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe. If you haven't already, please check out all the links below in the description box related to all the stuff that Frank's working on, him and his partners with Italian Sicilians Do It Better. Please support them, follow them, get involved with everything they're doing, and please recognize that we need more people like this. So support them, okay? And Frank, again, thanks for joining us and giving us all this great information and just stories, and it's been great, man. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it too. Thank you so much.
All right, and we'll definitely be hooking up soon, guys. Keep an eye out. We might be doing some reels with these guys very soon.
Let's do it.
All right. Also, again, thank you. Our guest tonight has been Frank Falconeri of Italian Sicilians Do It Better. They have a great podcast. They're all over social media. Follow them. Frank, have a great night, and we'll see you soon.
Good night. Thank you.
Ciao.